guys, welcome to a miserable day here in the UK. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it did. Anyway, welcome to the Abarth 695 70th Anniversario, and I'm giving you a long-term review of this car. But what I'm saying about this car, the 695, can equally be kind of mirrored to a 595 comp with the LSD options pack and the 595 SASA, because in terms of the engine, the heart, etc., all three of those cars are pretty much exactly the same. Now, for those who aren't aware, if this is the first video you are watching of mine, well, we're lighting up the wheels there just for a bit of banter, I guess. It is very wet. I do have the TTC on just because well, a bit of hooliganism. But for those who are not aware, this is my long-term loaner, and it's approaching 6 months now that I've had this car, and I have done everything with it. Well, yeah, I'd say everything with it. And in this video, I'm going to kind of run through all the things that we've got up to, but also give you a long-term review as to what this car has been like to own, I guess, drive and experience in all those different scenarios that I'm going to talk about. Now, if I take you back to the day I collected this car, which was, well, it was 6 months ago, I can tell you that I was so happy because when they launched this car, I was fortunate enough to go to Italy for the launch of this 695 70th Anniversario, and it was a very bold colour, if you like. The monza green was a very Marmite colour with a number of people. However, I can safely say that all of those people who initially told me that they didn't like the colour, when they've seen it in the flesh, have then turned around and said, actually, do you know what, Stef, it looks not much nicer in the flesh. And myself included, because I'll be honest, when I first saw this car, I did think to myself, I can see the homage paid to the historical cars, but I'm just not sure. On top of that, Abarth went, look at this, it's really chucking it down. I'm sorry if the audio is a bit terrible, guys. On top of that, Abarth decided that they wanted to put a funky little rear spoiler on this with a 60-degree adjustable angle, which in theory would give you up to 40 kilos of downforce above 120 mile an hour. Now, ironically, I thought I would never be in a position to drive this car over 120 miles an hour. However, I took it to Germany and I hit the Autobahn on it, and whilst I wasn't doing 130 odd mile an hour for much, I can safely say that this car felt so stable on the Autobahn, and that really surprised me because this is a very light car. The SS in the comp, 1035 kgs. You would expect it to kind of be a little bit unstable, particularly as it's not lowered. This is a stock car. I know a lot of owners like to lower their cars, make the suspension stiffer, and that ultimately will help with stability, but this, completely out of the packet, was brilliant. Now, on top of that, I had the chance to really unleash this car and drive it like an absolute hooligan when I took it down to the Chelsea Walsh hill climb, and that was brilliant. It was a very kind of tight and twisty circuit around some elements of the track, a very short track, but it was a chance for me to really pin this car and unleash it on, well, in a safe environment, I guess, because in the public roads, you'll never be able to drive it as a hooligan. Yes, I can boot it from 0 to 60, but I won't really be able to throw it around a corner because that's just, well, it's not really that safe. But day-to-day driving like this, you can throw this round corners, because that's the beauty with this kind of car. The hot hatch platform and the Abarth, because it's such a small compact shell, it's so nimble. It is so nimble, and I've had so much fun with it. And you know, I've owned a 595 in the past, and people ask me, do you ever get bored of driving these cars? And the short answer is no, because they're so much fun. And the great thing with them as well is you get an element of fun, you get that element of practicality in this car because you've got 2 rear seats in the boot. You put it all together and you've got a great daily, you know. Now, don't get me wrong, this specific car from a price standpoint I think is a little bit steep. And would you potentially get more value out of a second-hand comp? Of course you would, because depreciation is your friend. This car for, what is it, 30 odd K, I think, or can't remember off the top of my head, I think it's 34 grand. There are a lot of other cars out there that do a much better job than this car. But when I say a much better job, I'm talking about interior quality, sound deadening, infotainment, just general driving characteristics from a dailyable car. But do they give you the fun factor that this does? I don't think they do. And I'll never get bored of driving these cars, particularly this, the 695. Now this car, because it's a rare limited edition, we've got the little plaque here, only 1,949 of these built, so you have that limited edition factor if that's something you're into. But I just love the look of this car, I love the platform. When I took this to Germany, I took this to the Nürburgring. I didn't do the Nürburgring, I took it around those areas. The amount of kind of heads that were turned from this car, as opposed to all of the Porsches, BMWs and Audis that you saw there, people just don't see these. And that's a really, really cool thing, to not see these cars about. Gives you that rarity factor. In the UK, however, it's a slightly different story. It's slightly different because you have a mass amount of Abarths in the UK, which is a great thing. Lots of different trim levels. And I guess that's where it leads me on to the point of, has this been any different to me having an SCSA, a 595 comp, etc.? I'll be honest, not really. And that's the problem with Abarth, is at the moment they are squeezing everything they can out of this platform. And you know, I get why, because with the 500e coming out, all their focus has been on electrification, and I think that actually we'll see some form of electric or hybrid Abarth in the future. I don't know, that's not facts, I don't know anything, but I'm just assuming, looking at the way the world is going. And these cars, the emissions cost on them is so high that, you know, FCA in general just have to steal emissions credits off of Tesla to stop being fined for every car they sell. That's a sad thing to think about, really, isn't it? But let's give this a little. And of course we've got the electronic valve Monza on this car, which is it is a good thing. Because one thing I really found that actually was brilliant, and I never thought I'd say this, was when I was doing motorway driving on my road trip to Germany, having the valve off was a godsend. I was able to have a very civil conversation with my wife. We were able to listen to our infotainment and our music really, really well without having to worry about all the sound deadening, the lack of sound deadening, sorry, and the drone that you'd get from the Monza exhaust if it was permanently open. However, at the touch of the button, you can open the exhaust valve, and around 3,000 plus RPM, it does open up. So you do get the best of both worlds there. Now, in terms of the handling of these cars, not the 695, the Comp, the SASA, the 500 platform in general, they're little go-karts, man. Genuinely, they are little go-karts, and there are a lot of people out there who look at these cars and go, oh, Fiat 500, oh, it's a girl's car, oh, it's crap. Those of you who are sat watching this who are thinking that, and who are brave enough to put it in the comment section, because a lot of you do, and I read everyone's comments, have you driven one? If you haven't driven one, get out and drive one, because these are wicked fun cars. Once you get past the fact that the seating position on them is terrible, and the steering wheel is positioned at an angle that you're not very used to having in a normal car, once you get past that, these are so fun and so capable. You know, I've said it in a number of videos, so many videos on my channels have been around tuning these cars. You know, this is no different. It's the 1.4 litre T-Jet engine, this 180 horsepower, plenty of modifications out there if you want to customize these. But don't snub this car if you've not driven it, genuinely. Now, living with this car for me, like I said, I've used it for everything, it's been brilliant. I think the only challenge that I've had with it has been on a long drive. My back has struggled on with the Sabelt seats. Whilst these Tricolore seats look incredible, the back support for me anyhow, and to be fair, I've had back problems in the past, so it might not be an issue for everybody. But for me personally, on a long journey, I have found it quite challenging. And actually, because I'm 6'2", 6'1" I am. So if I straighten my back up, you know, there isn't that much room between me and the top here, and the seating position feels a bit alien. So I tend to kind of crouch down a bit, which doesn't do wonders for my back. So yeah, that's probably the only real negative I think I found with this car. But performance, fun factor in the wet. That's 0 to 60, and yes, it is not the fastest car in the world. I completely appreciate that. You know, 0 to 60, I think around 6.8 seconds. It isn't the quickest car in the world, and there's a lot of other cars out there that are much faster than this, at a much better value proposition as well, being blunt. But they won't give you the character you get from this little thing. That smile that you get, the smile that is left ear to ear every time you drive this, it brings you back to your youth. people within my age bracket, you know, around the 35, 36 year olds, you know, you guys will be so familiar with the likes of the Ford Fiesta RS Turbo, the Renault 5 Turbo. This for me is the modern day Renault 5 Turbo, genuinely, because there's nothing fancy about it. There's no, you know, there's no cruise control. You haven't got any of these fancy driver aids that you get in all of these new modern cars. However, what you do get is bags of fun. Bags of fun. And a high revving engine that sounds great. So, there you go, guys. I really have enjoyed massively having this car for 6 months. I'm really looking forward to seeing what potential collaborations I can do with Abarth in future. If you haven't done already, please subscribe. Thank you so much for all the support you guys have given me through 2020. It's been a really tough year for me, I'll be honest. I'm trying to get that oomph back in. I'm really kind of trying, hopefully 2021 will be a much better year for me. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the content with this car, the Abarth 695 17th Anniversario. I might squeeze another video or two before it goes back, but it's due to go back in December. And now with kind of the lockdown in place, there isn't many meets going on, so it's a bit difficult to kind of bring you much more content on this car. But we'll see what we can do. Anyway, guys, my name's Stef. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon on the next video. Take care.